Rose Buddies. How is everyone doing today? I really hope you can hear me because I'm far away from my mic setup. Everything looks different. Yay! Thank you for confirming, Brittany. Oh, my bangs are all... My hair looked so good 20 minutes before the stream, and it's like already wilting. I am in the midst of a heat wave. Like, I'm already a cold weather person. I grew up in Canada. I liked me some winters. I liked cool weather. And it has been so hot this summer in Seattle. But how is everyone else doing? This isn't a stream about me complaining about the weather, although I could make a stream about that. I can whine about how warm it is with the best of them. Oh, Friday. You're so sweet. I don't know if folks saw the pictures I posted on Twitter, but you will see that I've got... Can you see? Yeah, you can. Oh no, the web captioner is not captioning. Oh no. My computer's all the way over there. I might need to figure that out for next time. I might be too far away, but if you guys can hear me... Do you all mind if I get up for a second and I go see if I... Oh! Did web captioner just start captioning stuff? Are you pranking me, web captioner? Welcome to the technical difficulties part of the stream. It literally only captioned the part where I said I was going to get up and go see if it was working. It's living its own life. Go check it out. Maybe web captioner is having a rough day. I'm like super confused because it will caption Dusty in the room far away from my desk talking to me. Maybe if I lean forward a little bit? Well, this is what happens when you have a new setup. I have this cropped real close to me, but there's this purple couch and like some pretty shelves with witch hats over here, and eventually this will be the community set. It might need to have its threshold adjusted. I don't think it has that, Dusty. Hi, Latia. Thanks for joining. We can hear you, but if you need to go check on it, we are patient. I'm going to go check... Wait. B Zelda, thank you for following. I think web captioner is possessed, which is making this stream very spooky and witchy. Okay, I think the microphone just needs to be closer to me because I'm talking a little bit louder now and it's sort of picking me up a little bit. So I am going to get up and try to adjust my microphone so it's the gain is maybe higher. Thank you everyone for being real patient and hanging out. I will show my craft with you in a second. But we're gonna try to fix this. This is why you need a producer. All right. I'm by the microphone. We're gonna turn the gain up. Can we get the mic a little closer without it falling off the desk? Okay. All right, web captioner. Do you like that any better? It does not. It liked when I was real close to the mic, though. We're gonna try a little closer. Alright, I'm talking here. Oh. Well, I'm talking right next to the microphone and it's actually not picking stuff up. Test. Hi everybody in chat watching as I troubleshoot this new setup. I think it's web captioner, y'all. I'm over by my computer now. I should probably do, like, web caption borked. I'm, like, right next to the microphone now, and it's not picking stuff up. I think it's web captioner. I don't think it's us, everybody. Web captioner is having a day. Okay. You know what? We're going to keep it up. We're going to keep the web caption thing up. Ooh. I am shiny. It's so hot. We're going to keep the web caption up because maybe it'll entertain us. Thank you, everyone who looked into that. Okay. Some stuff you have to know for the stream. It is so hot here. I'm sweating profusely, and I'm using a really good camera, which means you can see. So I've got a little towel here, and I'll occasionally blot myself. Yeah, we're just going to have to deal with that, because otherwise I'm going to be so shiny I will be the most glorious sparkly beacon, which sounds like a good thing, but it's not a good thing. Okay, to warm us up today, I wanted to share a fun witchy craft that I did. I'll turn it around so folks can see it. It's actually full of stuff right now, which I probably should have waited if I was going to be picking it up a bunch. But I made this really cool altar chest / table. It's 109 degrees where you are. Biomouse, how are you typing in liquid form? Is it humid? The humidity is what really gets me. Oh, thank you. The eye is super cool. Okay, so I originally was going to make a little travel-sized thing, but I stained it, and then I used this stuff called Rub and Buff that I don't know if you can see, like, the little glitzy corners. I think this camera's picking them up. It's called Rub and Buff, and I used that, like, all over every surface, and I was like, I used too much. So I went to a different craft store, Mask On, of course, and I picked up this small toy chest, which I was like, this is actually better, because I don't need a travel altar right now, because I can't go anywhere, but I would love a chest large enough to hold all my basic tools that I can bring upstairs, downstairs, into the garden. One day when we're able to go to festivals again, maybe I'll create like a leather harness so that I can like carry it over my shoulder or as a backpack or something. Oh, chat, I see you talking about googly eyes. Distinctly not googly. They're teasing me. But you'll see on the top, I used a gold paint pen to create these very light element symbols on each of the cardinal directions. I want my altar to face north, so earth is at the top, so for north. And then I made a pentacle, also in gold marker, and then I went over it with a little pin, but if I'd had a tiny paintbrush, I would have used a tiny paintbrush. And went over it with the Rub and Buff, so it's like really metallic. And I wanted the pentacle to have a sort of twigs natural look to it. But the whole inspiration for this was this eyeball, which is so cool looking. I'm like looking at it in the camera. Oh, it looks so cool. Which Holly Conrad for D&D Block Party did a tutorial about creating mimic chests, and a big part of that was using glass eyes and leather pieces to put an eye on a chest, or many eyes on a chest. I originally was going to put a bunch, but I really like the elegant look of just the one watchful eye. I don't know if you saw, but on my Twitter, at Lysa Penrose, I asked people, what does this magic item do? And people had so many good ideas. Not a googly eye. I need to look that up. It's a really fun tutorial. It's really, really easy to do. And you just need a few materials. Oh, thank you, Friday. Yeah, I got a little piece of leather at Michael's that had like a silver sheen to it. And I like the sort of silver and gold look that it has. I love mixing metals. It tells you what's inside the chest. I see Dame Hex calling out web captioner being totally bizarre. I'm kind of glad we left it on. Maybe the ghosts will. Maybe it's only picking up what the ghosts are saying. We need to go to swell. Whatever. Well, that's the the fun craft I wanted to share with you all. If you, like, seriously, it's so easy. I'll walk you through the basic steps. Glue a glass eye with hot glue gun. Cut a piece of leather and a little hole or slit that will go over the eyeball. Hot glue that in place. Get Rub and Buff. Use it to make the leather look awesome. And that's seriously all I did. Oh, I also used clear nail polish. Holly uses epoxy in her tutorial to go over the eyeball to give it sort of like a wet look, and I have like a little drippy tear. I don't think the camera's picking that up. It's pretty subtle in person too. And yeah, I have all my basic tools. Maybe another day we'll go through all the tools that are in here. But I've got some candles, my book of shadows, my athame, which I posted also on Twitter, and this bag that Jess our mod actually got me, I think for my birthday. But I decided to fill it with all sorts of little chime candles. So that's in there. Just other little materials I use for my craft. All right, yeah, we'll do an altar tour another time, I think. That's a great idea. All right, we're going to put that on that chair there. But shall we talk about some tarot? I appreciate everybody joining for Tarot Tuesday. If you are not aware of what we're doing here today, and I've got some paper stuck in it, but I'm basically going through this book. It's called Intuitive Tarot. It is by the founder of Biddy Tarot, which is a really good resource. And it is a workbook. So we'll have 31 lessons. It's meant to be a 1-month program. Program makes it sound so, like, sterile. It's a 1-month journey. It's a 1-month journey, and every day you read a different little section of the book, and it teaches you gradually to be able to read tarot intuitively. So I guess the alternate would be opening up the little book of definitions of all of the cards and trying to memorize those entry by entry. That's really hard to do and retain that information. I feel like these days, especially when you can Google anything or look things up in a tarot app, trying to learn things through memorizing, really, really hard. And honestly, I've tried to learn tarot for the past few years, and I thought, well, I'll do daily draws, and that way I'll gradually read a card a day. And it just didn't really work for me. Maybe 1 or 2 cards that, like, kept coming up, I would remember, or that felt really meaningful. Ooh, somebody followed. Oh gosh, I need my glasses. Frankenstuff, I think, is your name. Frankenstuff, thank you for following. So Intuitive Tarot, when I made this my New Year's resolution again to learn the tarot cards, my friend TK got me this book for my birthday. And I'm just really, I'm excited to dive into this and be accountable because I'm streaming it. So I have to do it. So I'm ready for the stream. Little Jordan Lane, I've got some coffee and pie. Did you bring pie for everybody? Yeah. Pixel Friend says, and understanding the stories and relationships in the tarot is more important than straight up definitions. That is so true. So to start us off, and this is, I'll take this little worksheet out. I'm gonna get comfy on the couch here. To start us off, the Intuitive Tarot has a short little chapter just about what is tarot. So I took some notes on things that jumped out at me that really resonate with what I think tarot is. But I would also really like to hear from folks in chat, some of whom I know are tarot practitioners or aspire to read tarot intuitively as well. Tell me, what is tarot in your mind, and what does it mean to you? How do you use it? And while you're typing, I'll talk a little bit about those notes that I took. And let's see if I can do it without looking at the notes first. I'm very much a take notes and just read person, but I'm trying to be a little more intuitive in how I speak with everybody as well. So tarot is a deck of usually 78 cards. There are major arcana and minor arcana. If you know very, very little about tarot, you're probably most familiar with seeing the major arcana cards. Those are the ones with names like the Lovers, the Devil, the Wheel, the Chariot. The Tower is one folks are familiar with and fearful of. The Magician is a really popular card. These 78 cards are meant to capture all the sorts of wisdoms and lessons we learn in life. That's a lot of cards. Some of them have overlapping meanings, but a little bit of nuance to how that particular card interprets something. And through reading these cards... Oh, I need to make this window so much bigger. Stolen Rowan, thank you for following. Through looking at and reading these cards, they kind of make you think about different life scenarios you're going through different lenses. The major arcana, those are your big, hefty cards. Those are big spiritual moments and lessons in your life, something that is going to last with you. Oh, Dusty wants me to hydrate. Thank you. The Hermit is my homie. Yeah. Friday's favorite is the Tower. WordWitch77, I love your comment just out of context. Just death. Death is one of my favorite major arcana, just because I don't think it's really just about death. It's also about rebirth and transformation. I talked a lot about that in our last Tarot Tuesday stream, too. WordWitch. I thought that after I typed it, too. Yeah, so the major arcana are those big life lessons. Minor arcana are more about day-to-day life. They are people who might come into your life. They're different energies that might be just in the presence. They talk about your current circumstances. Something that Intuitive Tarot stresses a bunch is that minor arcana are temporary. They might be what your current energy is, but if you don't like what you're seeing, you're still empowered to change it. A topic that Intuitive Tarot goes through a lot at the beginning is, do tarot cards predict the future? And Bridget, the author's thoughts on that. Dame Hex says, the High Priestess is usually my favorite. So I'm wondering, folks in chat, what are your feelings about tarot cards, whether they predict the future, and whether they do or don't, how you use tarot or want to use tarot in your life. Pixel Friend says, because I am open, but my inner critic is skeptical, I always tell myself, A, maybe this is just fun, or B, maybe these are tools for reflection, or C, maybe these are messages from spirits. That allows me to get out of my own way and use them well. I think that's a great perspective to have on them. The way Bridget talks about it in Intuitive Tarot for her is that tarot cards, they will tell you about what your current circumstances are, what the flows of energy are based on those current circumstances, which means, do they predict the future? They're maybe saying what the future could be based on the omens of the present. But that present can change. You're empowered to change those things. Like if you have a reading that tells you something that you don't want to happen, would you not change anything in your life? Just kind of accept that, oh, well, this is going to happen, and just not do anything and sulk? No, if you're empowered to change things, you can change what your circumstances are. If you see something that you do like, being predicted if you just sit back and wait for things to come to you, then you're already kind of changing what your circumstances are, and you might not get that outcome that you'd originally read. Word Witch says, guidance and helping me face issues in my life I've been trying to avoid. Yes, tarot decks can totally be that sort of really real, harsh friend. Because they're cards. They're not necessarily worried about your feelings. Dame Hex says, when I read for myself, it's usually me asking for guidance on a situation in the present. Hey, Chrisicon, thanks for joining us. Dungeon Mom Design says, I definitely think that we are still masters of our own future, and tarot shows one possible potential future. Friday says, tarot has big, hey, pay attention to me energy. Yeah. So for me, tarot cards are very much a way for me to, when I read for myself, and I mostly read for myself, I don't feel confident enough yet to read for other people, which I actually feel like I should have probably started telling people I'm not a tarot expert. I'm a big tarot enthusiast. I have many, maybe some would say too many tarot decks, if that's a possibility. Oh no! Did the stream freeze? Can folks still hear me? Look at that face I'm making. Goodness gracious. You can hear though? Can hear, but it's frozen. Audio is working, but video froze. Okay, we're gonna try to fix it, everybody. Ah. The face I made is kind of hilarious, though. We're gonna try to deactivate and activate it again, which I think should fix it. Boop, boop, boop. Yay, it did! Yeah, I disappeared. Poof. What was I saying? I was talking about what tarot means to me and when I read for myself, and I was talking about how I'm not a tarot expert, big enthusiast. Okay. So tarot cards for me are very much kind of what Brittany said, or no, was it Word Witch? Word Witch might have said it. I feel like they help me look at situations from a different perspective. So they might kind of toss in my face some feedback that I know deep down, but I've been trying to avoid. And by seeing it in a card, it kind of makes that feedback kind of bubble up from my subconscious, where I'm like pushing it down, and faces me with it. It can kind of like affirm things that I already know, but I kind of needed another voice to say it. It's basically a mode of guidance for me. All right, I'm going to reference my notes to make sure I didn't forget anything that I thought was really insightful. Oh, yeah, so Omens of the Present was a little quote that I took from the book. And it says, it's a tool for understanding the present energies which will influence the future. Which I thought was really a really helpful way to understand how I understand tarot. Dungeon Mom's Design says, there has been some big truth energy that I've needed to hear, and it's a good thing. I agree. What was I going to say? There's one other thing that I didn't write down in my notes. Oh, yeah. So then Bridget asks, well, if it's not really about predicting the future, is there anything magical about tarot? And Bridget is seems to believe what a lot of folks are saying in chat, echoes your thoughts, which is that tarot is used for guidance. It is based off of wisdom, these universal wisdoms, and that is why it resonates with a lot of people when you read a card. especially those everyday minor arcana cards. They're things we're so familiar with. But what she describes is that there are like your own personal wisdoms, but there's also this universal wisdom. Like, how do we explain when you do a reading for somebody else and you seem to just pick up on really specific circumstances in their life? Is that magic? And the way Bridget explains it is that when you read intuitively, you tap into this universal wisdom that everybody shares. And that in that way, tarot feels very spiritual to her. I think the words that she said were that when I read tarot, that's when I'm closest to God. I don't really know how I feel about that personally. It's something I think I'm still exploring. Dame Hex says, I don't think the cards themselves are magical, but the magic comes from the person using them. That's a really helpful perspective that I feel maybe speaks to how I feel about them right now too. I mean, they're a tool that you can use. Let's see. Dusty says, if magic is the act of enacting change in accordance with will, tarot serves as a way to guide that journey. For me, symbolic divination is an important aspect of practice. That's a really great way to think about it, too. Dungeon Mom says, my grandma said that her dad would always tell her that he felt closest to God when he was on his farm tending his field. That's really lovely. I know, like, a lot of folks feel a sort of spirituality from being in nature. I'm like thinking on this as everyone's kind of throwing in their feedback and kind of mulling that over internally and trying to figure out how I feel about it. I do definitely feel like intuition is really powerful. And different individuals might feel differently about that and their own intuition. But I know that reading tarot definitely feels some level of spiritual to me. Because if it weren't, and if it were just a tool for just general guidance, and all of the cards speak to these life lessons, and so you could literally pick like any card out of the deck and figure out how you feel about it. That's not actually what my experience is like. When I am doing a tarot spread or even a daily draw, I like lay out all of the cards and I have my hands go over the cards and I wait until one feels like it's radiating a sort of energy to me, like it's calling to me. So I suppose I wouldn't do that if I didn't feel like there was magic in it. Folks are saying what Bunkerman91 Dusty said is expressed really well and resonates with them. Chrisicon, thank you for the hydrate reminder. Okay. So there were a few pages I wanted to talk about with folks specifically. So folks have told me, I think pretty much everyone responded with they use tarot cards for kind of personal guidance, which is how I use them as well. But I really liked on pages 15 and then it goes on to 16 of at least my edition of the book, Intuitive Tarot. It talks about, here's just a taste of what you can use the tarot cards for. So seeking spiritual guidance, understanding the present. I feel like that kind of speaks to the type of guidance folks in chat are talking about. Learning more about yourself, exploring mythology and symbolism, having fun with your friends, solving problems or dilemmas, confirming a gut feeling, making important decisions, daily or weekly guidance, helping others in emotional distress, empowerment. And I'm not reading every single one. It's quite a long list. Even creative thinking. there are so many different uses, and I actually feel like multiple bullet points here seem to be captured by the type of guidance folks in chat were talking about. Dame Hex says, it sounds like we have similar experiences with tarot. I also spread my cards out and cut them into piles and hold my hands over them and feel for magnetic energy. Friday says, Teacup feels card energy with their hands as well. They describe it as heat. Oh my god, Friday, I feel like Teacup and I are tarot soul siblings because we have the same taste in tarot and oracle decks, and that's what I do. To me, it feels like a sort of heat that I get. It's, but I also feel like I relate to what Dame Hex says. It feels like a heat, and then I feel like when I'm kind of passing over that heat, if I like move past it, I almost feel like that sort of magnetic pull to go back in the other direction. Yeah, we're tarot twins, kindred spirits. Yes, Dame Hex, it's like a pull. That's really cool, feeling like knowing that someone has that same experience. All right. And then on page 16, there were some questions that I wanted to talk through with chat. Friday says, for me, it's not so much a pull or heat as it just is. I feel like that makes a lot of sense with just your approach to divination as well. That I don't know if I would feel confident enough to have my hand over a card and be like, oh, it's obviously just this one, if I didn't feel some sort of tug or outward force. But I feel like what I know from how you approach tarot is that your general process already is very intuitive. I struggle with wanting to know that I'm using the right definition of a card, which reading about the Intuitive Tarot first chapters, a lot of people struggle with that, thinking you need to know exactly the right definition. When if you are able to drop that, and I am trying so hard to drop that feeling, it really opens up tarot to so much more. Dusty says, I always just shuffle until it feels right, then draw the first card. It's a habit from playing Magic the Gathering for so long, it just feels natural. Oh, wow. A lot of folks in chat do that. I used to, when I had this little deck called Spirit Speak, if you watched my previous stream about my tarot collection, that's that little black and white one with the roses that I forgot the name of. It's Spirit Speak. It shuffles like regular cards, so I would just shuffle and shuffle and shuffle, and eventually a card would fly out, and I would feel like, that's the one that's like, stop shuffling and just pick me. But since I've moved to bigger decks where I don't kind of just shuffle endlessly, I go with the that more like energetic pull. Yes, Brittany, it wants to be seen. Okay, let's talk through these questions. And I would love if folks shared what your answers are to them as well, if you want to. Okay. Discover what tarot means to you. What inspired you to learn tarot? What role do you see tarot playing in your life? That's the first part. Gosh, I think when I originally discovered tarot, I was a little middle school kid. I loved to go to Barnes & Noble. And when I kind of grew out of the kids section of Barnes & Noble or Borders, and then the young adult section I got bored with, I went exploring in all the grown-up sections of the bookstore and found the New Age section. And the just energy of those books and the topics really, really intrigued me. And they had tarot decks there. And that's where I got my first tarot deck. I don't know if I fully explored tarot, but that's what made me aware of it. I think what inspired me to want to learn about it was a few years I started doing daily draws of tarot and feeling I really liked using it as something to help me reflect and guide and help make decisions. And after doing that and like constantly looking at my Golden Threads app or my Mystic Mondays app, I decided I wish I just knew what these cards meant. I wish that I could read the symbolism of them. And I wish that I could read cards for other people, but I feel too self-conscious reading them and having to reference a book. I think it's okay to reference books, but I feel self-conscious reading for other people when I have to. A2 Husky says, I love the New World Tarot deck. That is a gorgeous one. But the cards are way too big to be comfortable for me. Yeah, I have really tiny hands. So shuffleability of the cards is really important to me. I like to shuffle. Oh, here, let me pause the stream of comments. Dungeon Mom Design says, the thing that inspired me is just a sort of pull towards the idea of it. And my aunt does tarot. She's a Wiccan and would always show me her decks. And there's always been this pull and energy that I've been drawn toward, but I've never actually explored it much before now. But that pull is still there, so clearly it's something that wants my attention. Yeah, I mean, what inspires you doesn't even have to be a big thing. It's like you just have this feeling you want to know more. Dusty says, for me, card interpretation is like art. It's meant to evoke a reaction. But what that is depends on the interpreter far more than the artist. There's a more or less agreed upon core meaning for most cards, but the rest is deeply personal. A few years back, I tried working my way through Waite's pictorial key, and it just felt so dry and wrong. That's true. Waite of the Rider-Waite deck, I'm assuming. Friday says, I'm not great at expressing myself with words, and it's like I can hear all the truths around me, my own and other people's, at the same time. Cards help me find the language I need to focus stuff that I'm already absorbing and reading. They help me figure out how to say what is. Yeah, they definitely help like verbalize thoughts that are just like floating around in your like inner astral plane. Dame Hex, my oldest sister got me and my other sister into tarot and chakras and crystals when we were very young. We also all had paranormal experiences growing up, so anything spiritual or magical just feels right. Pixel Friend says, encountered when young and in popular culture, etc. Then in 2013, met a woman at a retreat who reads intuitively, and she did, scrolled away. And she did readings for several of us who became kindreds. From there, a small group of us learned more together and alone. Oh, Pixel Friend says what Friday said really resonates with them. I use art journals more than written journals. Mogi Wright says, my inspiration was also family. My great-grandmother reads cards for people, so I've always been interested in learning. I like to use the imagery to read the cards. I don't love going back to the book and reading the real interpretation. It feels super dry and prescriptive. I'm, like, jealous of people whose instinct isn't to go to the book, because that's, like, what I want to be able to do. But I think how I was raised and how much school learning and book learning was emphasized when I was little, that's my instinct to go to the book, which is why I really love that there is a book that's helping me learn to unlearn that instinct so that I can delve more into symbolism and absorb that. Mogi writes, adds, my deck feels packed full of symbology, so maybe that makes it easier for me. Oh, Dame Hex, my first ever tarot deck, my sister wrote the meaning in the margins of the cards, so I never needed to look at the book. Oh my goodness. That's really sweet to go through all 78 cards and kind of add like a little code for you. Friday says, I definitely hear you on the self-prescribed pressure to get the answer right. It's like that for me with language. I speak Spanish, but I'm always super hesitant around native speakers. It feels similar. Dusty says, on the flip side, that's also why I love 78 Degrees of Wisdom so much. It goes so deep and offers so many ways to interpret. You get to choose what feels right for you. Yeah, that's an alternate resource. Although that one, you really need to have a deck that's based off of the Rider-Waite tradition and uses that symbolism. The deck I'm using, which is the Forager's Daughter deck, throws Rider-Waite out the door. But Intuitive Tarot, I think, can be applied to a broader type of tarot deck. But okay, let's go on. The next set of questions is, by the end of these 31 days, what do you want to think, feel, and do when it comes to reading tarot with confidence? What other commitments do you need to make to yourself to complete this program? How do I want to think, feel, and do when it comes to tarot with confidence? I think I want to reprogram my instinct in this particular case to looking for symbols in the card instead of my first instinct being panicking and wanting to grab a guidebook. I understand that there's no one right answer. I'll reference multiple apps and the guidebook and try to mishmash that all together. So it's frustrating for me that that's what my instinct is. But yeah, I think I'd want to feel comfortable with the symbolism of this particular deck as a start. And then my dream would be if I felt comfortable giving someone else a reading. Oh, hey, Tyler. Thanks for joining. Tyler says, I also have to unlearn the knowing it for sure behavior. Coming from playing trading card games into losing my vision, I spent a lot of time memorizing card text, and I accidentally took that approach to learning tarot meanings. I want to move toward a reset and attaching more feelings from facts. Yes, absolutely, exactly what you said, Tyler. That's what I want too. And as far as other commitments, I've started this book a few times, but I know that if I don't have something set in my schedule, like a meeting or a stream, I will not finish things. So, my Tarot Tuesdays, every week, I want to talk about the previous week's lessons with folks, and hopefully my tarot journey inspires your own if that's something that you aspire to do. And we can learn from each other, because folks have already said so many amazing things in chat that have helped me reflect on how I feel about tarot. I certainly hope that it's helping everyone else too. Okay. The next few bits of intuitive tarot are short and easy, especially for me, since I already have a bunch of tarot decks. They're all about choosing your tarot deck, and it goes through tips about making sure the imagery speaks to you. One of the great things about wanting to learn tarot these days is there's tons of Rider-Waite tarot decks that are reinterpreted with different imagery. If you want a different style versus that it's almost become the standard when someone thinks of tarot. If you want something beside that. And if Rider-Waite doesn't kind of resonate with you, which it didn't for me, there's completely different interpretations of tarot, many of which come with guidebooks to help you understand the artist's choices, if that's something important to you. Collage styles, illustration styles, and photographic tarot cards and omen decks, if that's more of your preference. Let's see. The next part is about cleansing and caring for your tarot deck, which I don't know if folks in the chat want to share how they cleanse their tarot decks. When you get a new tarot deck, especially if it's a used one, it's really important to cleanse it, because you don't want it to cling on to old energies of its previous owner. You want it to be filled with your own energy. You might also feel like you kind of get in a rut with a tarot deck where the cards that you're drawing don't really resonate with you, or someone else has touched your cards without your permission. I had a deck where my apartment was burgled, and I could tell that they had touched my deck and scattered the cards. and it hasn't really quite resonated with me since. I need to find a different way to cleanse it that makes it feel right again. For this particular one, the Forager's Daughter deck, I saged it when I first got it, and then to kind of reset it for these lessons, I went through and I organized all the cards into the major arcana, each of the suits, cups, swords, wands, and pentacles, and then put those cards in order. I then immediately had to do the next step of this, which was do a spread, so I had to shuffle them all together again. But sorting them kind of felt nice and had me looking at each card with intention. Friday says, I cleanse by covering in salt, sometimes by passing through candle flame for a deep clean. I'll bury it in a box of salt and let it sit for a lunar cycle. Dusty says, I should really try that with my Crowley deck. I keep it boxed up because whenever I try to use it, it feels like a psychic equivalent of licking a 9-volt battery. Maybe that's just Crowley, though. That's like a whole other stream and topic. Yeah, burying in salt, I really like. In a lot of my practice, I invoke the elements a lot. So stuff like saging represents both fire and air. Salt represents earth. Leaving the deck out in the moon represents water. I will admit, for certain cards that I think I can take it, I'll sprinkle like a teeny bit of salt water on it to kind of get that earth and water combination. Some folks I know like to tap on their decks 3 times and kind of imagine like knocking negative energy off of the deck. A little auto mod caught something. I'm gonna allow that. Okay, the next part, and this was also a part of like getting to know your tarot deck, which could be going through every single card and spending some time with it and looking up meanings. But I really like to do an interview spread. I've seen a few different ones. I posted on Twitter a picture of the interview spread. Hold on, I'll actually open up that page of the book so you can see what the spread looks like and see the questions. But I did this spread before because I wanted to do it on my own and really sit with the cards and reflect on them a little bit. But I do want to share with you all. Whoops. Actually, to share with you, I wanted to share with you all what I got and what meanings I took from them. Oh, yay, yeah. I encourage thank you, Jess, for tossing that tweet into the chat. So I want to go through what my interview spread was. I have these cards here. And the meanings that I took. And also, as I was going through, I made a very conscious decision to try to reflect on each card and figure out what the card meant to me, even if it was just like a single word or I think this is a symbol. I wanted to have something that came from me before I looked up the meanings. Okay, so the first question is, why have you come into my life at this time? And I got the star. Will this focus? There we go. So the star in this deck, you see like this North Star, which is used and associated a lot with like guiding people. You see that there's like icicles that are melting and these little crocuses that are blooming. Also this cardinal, which is this colorful winter bird. And the star is actually a card that I'm more familiar with. And to me, the star is all about hope. For this particular card and its focus on winter, it kind of tells a story to me of Like winter is this really, for many people, a dark, a dreary time. Everything is kind of lifeless and dead. And this speaks to the coming of spring, of promise and things to look forward to, and change. But this change has been colored in a very positive light. Dame Hex says, of course there was the star in your spread. So for me, what does this mean when the question is, why have you come into my life at this time? And as I'm talking about all of this, feel free to throw in chat what you think, too. This is very much a collaborative stream, and I want to engage with you all. So what this meant for me, for why have you come into my life at this time, is that, honestly, I am in a period of my life that is going through a lot of changes. This year I got married, I bought a house. Those are all positive changes. There's also, honestly, some negative changes. All the stuff happening in the world. It's not about me, but it is affecting me too. And I lost some friends this year. They're still alive. We've just gone down different paths now. There's a lot of sadness in that. And I feel like with all of these changes swirling and happening at once, it's really tough. And so I feel like this deck has come into my life to help me navigate these changes. Yeah. Brittany said this so much more succinctly. Guidance for change and reflecting on that. That's true, Jess. Lost friends, gained some new ones. And that is, the losing is bitter, but the new friends are sweet. And it feels good. I'm honestly, as much as I talk about life being a real whirlwind right now, I can feel that I'm starting to put down new roots for this new stage in my life. Yeah, I did end up reading the what the Forager's Daughter guidebook says, and she has like anecdotes and talks about what nature symbols mean to her. And the cardinal to her is a reminder in winter that spring is coming, color and life are coming back. To have like such a vibrant Burby, and so that's why she put the cardinal on that card. Okay. The second one was, what are your key strengths? So that's not my key strengths. I'm asking the deck. What are the deck's key strengths? This was really interesting and tied to the previous card. We got the Five of Cups. So what jumped out at me, let's see, can we get this to focus? There we go. What jumped out at me was that, look, a bunch of the cups are in disarray at the bottom. They are broken. There's like a little lobster or maybe a crawfish. I think it's a crawfish that it's crawling on these broken cups in the mud. But above it are these two intact cups that are overflowing with water. Overflowing so much they're creating a stream, and that's, I think, what's creating the mud that the other cups are stuck in. Broken and stuck in. And the cups that are overflowing have like are on top of these stones where like moss is like drinking up this water. Oh my god, Dusty, your kitchen will be destroyed by lobsters. The cards have spoken. Aw, thank you for following. Oh, we got another. Oh, thank you also for the follow. I'm having such trouble because my monitor is like all the way over there. I need to figure out how to make the alerts bigger, or I need to wear my glasses to be able to say folks' names, but I appreciate you following, truly. So this card was interesting for this question about what are the key strengths of my Forager's Daughter tarot card. This card speaks to loss, defeat, and stagnation. That's what's represented by these broken, crushed cups that are stuck in the mud. The crawfish, which I read about a little more in the guidebook, because crawfish actually don't mean so much to me as a symbol. But crawfish, when they're afraid, will like start scuttling backwards and retreating, and kind of retreating from a problem, avoiding a problem. That is what the artist kind of wanted to capture in that crawfish, and had this whole little anecdote. So actually, crawfish, I was like, don't know, is that a lobster? I don't know. But now that symbol means a lot to me in this card. Brittany says, it's clearly about balancing your strengths and weaknesses, and how weaknesses don't have to always be negative, but can help you grow. That's a really great interpretation of this. The other side of this card that the artist highlights in those overflowing cups is that even in the darkest of times, even when you feel defeat, there is hope there. This crawfish is kind of backwards retreating away from that, but if you just kind of look up, you can see that hope. To me, this was a reaffirmation that this deck is about hope. But I do really like, Brittany, your interpretation that that it is about balances. Really? Dusty says there's a lobster in the Rider-Waite illustration of the moon, some lunacy from the deep. Let's see. Question 3. What limitations do I need to be aware of? Okay, yeah. I thought this was a really, really interesting card to get. We got the Two of Wands. So I find that both in the swords and the wands, the two is kind of about like making decisions. In the swords suit, I feel a little more fear, but in the wands, it's really about limitless possibilities. Decision making among limitless possibilities. So that kind of instantly jumped out at me from this card, because there's a stream, there's a fork in the stream, and there is a big wand sticking out of each of those streams. In the background of the card, there is a big globe that is meant to represent all of the possibilities that are out there. And there's a bear that's like hiding in the forest. The bear apparently represents your curiosity. But the symbol that jumped out at me was, oh, there's a split path. This is a decision-making card. So to me, the limitations that I need to be aware of is that this deck isn't going to be making decisions for me. It's very much there as something to guide me, to present to me possibilities, but the onus of interpreting them and making the big decisions is really on me. That's what I took. Oh, thanks, Dusty. That's a good interpretation. I appreciate that. Brittany, that also crossed my mind. Oh, that's clearly indecision and embracing and choosing a path, and that there isn't a wrong decision. That also popped into my mind, but then I was trying to understand, well, like, what would be a limitation interpretation? 4. What are you here to teach me? This one I struggled with, so I would really love if folks let me know what your thoughts are. Oh, Tyler, thanks for following. Okay. Number 4 is, what are you here to teach me? And I got the Knight of Pentacles. Boop, boop. Will the card focus? There we go. The Knight of Pentacles. Knights the court cards, which are the page, the knight, the king, and the queen. Sometimes the page is called something different in different decks. But they're really about people who come in your life or personality traits. Pentacles are really practical cards. So that kind of jumped out at me. I also immediately recognized that there were ramps, which are this amazing wild garlic, wild onion. And so I was curious what that meant. And reading the anecdote in the guidebook, it actually really, really resonated with me because I used to work for a salad company. We really liked seasonal foods, and ramps only showed up in our region in the spring in abundance. But also they're a little bit controversial because a lot of people just pull up ramps. It actually takes a long time for ramps to develop. So if you just pull them up bulb and all, you're actually hurting the supply of ramps for the future. You kind of have to harvest them really conscientiously. And the creator of Forager's Daughter talks a lot about that. So that is now kind of solidified in me. And that makes sense for the Knight of Pentacles because the card usually is about patience and planning, being really grounded, being really practical. It's like someone's planted a pentacle to be able to harvest something in abundance in the future. Let's see what folks are saying for me. Help me. Oh, I'm scrolling up. Okay. Dusty says, fighting for home and groundedness. Mogi Ray says, thinking of what someone said on Discord the other day, you can't flower until the roots are stable. Wow. That is a really great interpretation of this. Grow in groundedness and become more rooted in your beliefs and values. I think it was Frankie who said that. Dusty says, for me, nights have always been about taking action to manifest their suit. Friday says, Molière said, il faut cultiver notre jardin, meaning we must cultivate our garden, which is a totally similar concept. I want to make a t-shirt with that saying on it. Yeah, I mean, I guess I was thinking of this purely through the lens of I'm doing this for intuitive tarot. I need to be a little looser. I need to interpret symbols. And I wasn't really thinking about how this tarot deck's also going to be guiding me in life. I am sort of like really uprooted my previous life. And we're building roots in our new home, and making sure we're financially stable under our new circumstances and everything. So learning to be grounded, learning to create a basis of new habits that I want to have in our new space. It seems like this deck is going to be supporting me and pushing me to do that. I see the Rose Buddies planning merch. All right, number 5 was how can we work together to deliver intuitive, confident readings? Okay, everyone, this is the scary card that I drew. One of the worst, I mean, no, there's not like bad cards, but I'm terrified of the sword suit. So for me, this was a really scary one to draw. The 3 of Swords. So looking at this, I'll describe it for folks. It is a cardinal. It has spread its wings to take flight, and suddenly someone has stabbed it in the back 3 times. Way overkill for a cardinal. I will say this deck is generally a very hopeful deck. So you'll notice behind it, there's also these like twigs, these branches, but there's new life, new growth sprouting off of the branches. Everyone in chat is freaking out. Yeah, so it's like, how can we work together to deliver intuitive, confident readings? Bam! Stab you in the back. This one was tough, and actually, my interpretation of it is really... Sorry, I'm laughing. Dame Hex says, what did the cardinal do? This was a really personal interpretation for me. Like I mentioned, this has been a really tough year personally and friendship-wise. A lot of things happened. But what I took from this card wasn't the usual interpretations of betrayal and pain, but those little sprouting green bits coming off of the branches. To me, those are about letting go of pain, moving on, offering forgiveness. That's sometimes the interpretation of this card in reverse. And I actually, some people don't use reverses. I kind of feel like every card has both its upright and reverse meaning in it. It depends on the situation. For me, this was about this deck helping me navigate the changes in my life and letting go of things I'm still holding on to. What is the prompt for this one? How can we work together to deliver intuitive, confident readings? And I feel like if I go through this process of letting go, that it's going to let me become an even better version of myself. Dusty says, for me, the Three of Swords has always been sorrow/mourning. The context of loss and sadness is a way to move forward. Pixel Friend says, that's what I'm feeling for this. Grieve that which needs grieving, heal that which needs healing. Yeah, it feels like we're all sort of aligned in this interpretation. Okay, the sixth card is, what is the highest potential of our collaboration? And I love the card that I drew for this. The Wands suit is the one that I resonate with the most, so I was really happy it was a Wands card. Let's get this to focus. The Eight of Wands. What jumped out at me immediately is, for those who aren't watching or are hard of sight, there are 8 wands upright, kind of in like a swirly squiggle formation. And then, do you know those little, are they maple seeds? The little helicopters? Those are being caught up in a breeze. There's so much movement in this card, and they're like swirling through all of these branches. I'm told like people have all different names for these. I call them helicopters. They are maple seeds. Yes, we call them helicopters. Okay, a lot of people call them helicopters. Dusty, Lysa, this deck is amazing. Dusty's the one who sent me this deck originally. Kickstarter, you sent it to me. Or actually, I wasn't going to get this deck. Then Dusty sent me the link again. I was like, this is so you. And I was like, okay, twist my arm. And I supported the Kickstarter. Oh, Jess, they're helicopters or noses when they're green because you open it up and stick it to your nose. I remember doing that as a kid. So these are seeds, which are totally for me a representation of potential, but they're also like fully like moving. They're spreading everywhere, and I feel like the possibilities are limitless. On the bottom, you may have seen there's also some little gemstones. I believe those are citrine, which are also very much about attracting energy. So let's see. The notes that I took here are these. This card is about unstoppable force, motivation, and being propelled forward. So, what a perfect card to get when the question is, what is the highest potential of our collaboration? Unstoppable force. Oh, thank you everyone for the follows. There was actually a heated discussion in the family not so long ago, noses versus nosies. Oh, I so thought those were drops of sap. Oh, they do look like those too. Let me actually, I don't remember fully what citrine stands for, so I want to look in here to see if I missed anything for the Eight of Wands. Yeah, citrine, positive energy and manifestation. Ooh. The wands, apparently, because the breeze is weaving through these wands, the artist's intention was for them to be directing the energy. So it's not just energy out in the world, aimless, but it can be focused as well, which makes it powerful. Citrine is your birthstone. Ooh. It's a very pretty stone. So that was my interview spread. I don't know if while we were doing this, if anyone else did the interview spread, or if you're saving it for later. If you did do it while I walked through mine, then feel free to share with us anything particularly insightful that you got as you were doing the interview spread. For those of you who are part of my Rose Buddies Garden Discord, we have a section called, I mean, if you're part of it, you know. But for those who don't know, there is a section called the Cozy Moss Coven, where we talk about things like tarot. So feel free to share it with the rest of the Rose Buddies in that Discord. Okay, that was all about my interview spread. So after you interview your tarot deck and you become familiar with it, you're supposed to start a tarot journal, which I'm using the same little notebook I make sigils in. And you're supposed to set intentions for what you're going to put in your tarot journal. So for me, what I'm going to put in my tarot journal, and if someone else has a tarot journal, let me know how you use it. I don't know if I'm necessarily going to put my daily like 1-card draws in the tarot journal, but I think whenever I do like a proper spread, where it's like I have like a very particular question I want to ask, or a very particular spread I want to try, or if I get the idea for a spread that I kind of want to try out and see how it feels, I will definitely want to record that in my tarot journal. Some people like to include their daily draws too. It kind of lets you, as you're going through day-to-day life, you can think back to or look up in your journal what previous cards were, and you might see how they affected your life or spoke to what was going to happen in your life in a way you didn't think of at the time. And so that can provide some growing insight. Let's see. Lil Jordan Lane says, I'm going to look for a deck tomorrow. Really looking forward to doing this spread. Oh, I'm so happy you're going to get some tarot in your life. I'm excited for you. Friendly Dungeon Mom. Dungeon Mom Designs is going to do the tarot the interview spread. Awesome. Jess, thanks for linking to Friday's spread. I'm going to have to check that out after the stream. Friday Afternoon Tea wants to know where I got this cute little snake buddy. So, I wish I remembered the name of the store, because I got it in, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the name of the region, too. I got it in Fremont, a really cute store, whose name I can't remember, except that it was really complicated to say. But the makers are Native Bear. I used to have a planner by them that I really loved. I have another notebook that's like a big chunky spiral notebook that I really love. But I really like little notebooks like this. Because they're easy to throw into a bag. And they're not a huge commitment to start writing in. Your spread was not so good. Oh no. Oh no! Not so good in what way? Like the cards didn't make sense to you, or they had some scary things to say? Mythologic says, I tend to use mine, tarot journal, for full spreads or dailies if I want to keep track of the shift over a certain amount of time. Pixel Friend says, I have pages for each card so I can slowly develop what they mean for me. I've got a section for spreads I use and then a section for the readings I've done. Will eventually overflow into another journal. Oh no, Friday. I haven't really connected with this deck before and now I feel it's like legit mad at me. It doesn't mesh. I can't work with it. Oh no. Maybe that deck has come into your life to be gifted to somebody else. That's how I feel with decks that I really love the art of, but then I'm using them and I'm not feeling a connection. Like the Janasa Joust deck that I'm gifting to Friday, I hunted for that. I wanted it so bad and I got it and it's beautiful, but it just doesn't resonate with me. But now knowing Friday does tarot, it's perfect for Friday. So it almost feels like I was looking for that deck so I could give it to Friday. Yeah, so for mine, I'm going to do fuller spreads, probably not daily draws. And I'm going to take notes on my lessons for Intuitive Tarot because that helps me remember things, taking notes. And taking notes so that when we do our streams, I know what I want to talk about during the stream as well. Let's see. Oh no, Friday, it's the deck with you on it. I think so, yeah. The sad thing is I'm totally on one of the cards. The King of Wands is my portraits. It's gotta move on, though. Dame Hex says, my problem is that I'm drawn to art styles, but sometimes those cards just don't work with me the way I wish they would. Yeah, that's honestly mine, too. I get attracted to the art styles, but then when I actually am holding the deck, maybe the symbols on every single card, or well, what I'm experiencing now with the Stunning Tarot deck, also by the artist Jonasa Jouse, is the colors resonate with me. The Major Arcana super resonate with me. The Minor Arcana, love the art style. The symbolism that ended up on the Minor Arcana cards doesn't resonate with me, at least not now. I'm holding on to it because I also find that different tarot decks have spoken to me in different periods of my life. Mogi Wright says, I'm not 100% happy with my deck, but I can't commit to buying anything else. Yeah, I mean, maybe you can, like, develop a relationship with your deck. Or maybe if you do an interview spread with your deck, you can, maybe that'll help you connect with it more. Or understand where it fits into your life. Mythologic says, I also found some decks will only work for me depending on the kind of reading I'm doing. Yeah, that's very true. All right, so Intuitive Tarot, once you have, the whole first section is about getting your deck, becoming familiar with it, doing the interview spread, cleansing it, not in that order, and starting your tarot journal. That's the whole first section. Then Intuitive Tarot turns to learning the Minor Arcana. I feel like a lot of people start with the Major Arcana, because when you think of a tarot, when most people think of tarot cards, though, that's what they think of. And those feel like the big important cards. Minor Arcana are called minor, but they're not less important. In fact, they're probably the cards, I mean, with the ratio of Minor Arcana to Major Arcana, they are the cards you're mostly going to be seeing. And they also deal with everyday life and situations, which means that their meanings are probably things you're more familiar with. Oh, Dusty's saying, no matter what deck I try to use, I always gravitate back to the Wildwood Tarot. It just gets me. I love the aesthetic. Yeah, Teacup loves that one too. It's a very popular one at Teacup, Friday says. Dame Hex also just got the Wildwood. I've been loving seeing the cards that Rin has shared. But what was I saying? Oh yeah, so Minor Arcana. I really liked this sentence from Intuitive Tarot. It's all about the energy moving through life right now, which can be easily changed depending on the actions you take. I underlined 2 words that kept recurring as the Minor Arcana were described, which are temporary and current. And that is versus the Major Arcana, which are about critical life lessons. So the Minor Arcana come in 4 different suits. Each of those suits I mentioned have 4 court cards that come at like the end of that suit if you put all the cards in order, and those represent personality traits or people in your life specifically. The rest of the cards, I'm pretty sure that there is like each of the numbers generally represents something similar in all of the suits, like the 10 kind of being the culmination of that suit, and the 1 being the like pure basic form of what that suit represents. But Intuitive Tarot hasn't talked about that yet, and so I'm excited for us to talk more about that another time. It did, however, go into what each of the suits represents. And I'd love if folks want to throw out what the Minor Arcana suits mean to them in their practice. So Cups is all about feelings and emotions. These cards speak a lot to your relationships and emotional connections you have with other people. Pentacles, like I said, are a really practical suit. They're a lot about finances and career, material possessions, material wealth. And the pentacle is the one, I feel like is the designated driver of the responsible one of all of the tarot suits. Swords, the ones that scare me, are about, oh my gosh, Mogi Wright says, I vibe with pentacle cards so much. I feel like pentacle cards are like scolding me when I draw them. Yeah, Friday, I call them the designated driver. Swords frighten me. But reading about what they represent in the tarot deck, I don't fully know why they frighten me until I get to like the 3 of Swords or like the 10 of Swords. If I draw those, then I fully understand why I'm terrified. But swords represent thoughts, words, and actions. So it's about like communication and decision making. It's about asserting power. I guess being forced to face reality and make decisions. I can see why that would scare me and other people. Mythologic says, swords are my astrological suit, and I'm still getting used to that when I'm just, no, give me more cups, please. My favorite suit are wands, which I saved the best for last. And those are about energy, motivation, and passion. I'm someone who gets really, really, really passionate about things, and especially when I feel like a creative energy around them. I associate wands with creativity, but cups are also a very creative suit. And wands are about life purpose, they're about spirituality, and they're about new ideas, new projects. Friday says, cups are my astrological, and I'm like, give me them swords, let's get intense, Tracy's. Isn't it funny? Like, the grass is always greener. So Mythologic, great segue. They said in chat, it's about the elements they're related to, which is the immediate next part. In fact, it's part of the section in Intuitive Tarot about learning the minor arcana. You immediately then learn about the 4 elements. So, water is an easy one, is associated with cups. It is about, water is also very much about feelings, about intuition, relationships, healing. Fire, that passion, is associated with wands. It's about that energy. It's about enthusiasm. Earth, that grounded practicality, that stability, is linked to pentacles, which leaves air and swords. Air is about knowledge. It's about action. Think about how that air was represented in that wands card. It is about power and change. And this is where Intuitive Tarot starts you learning tarot intuitively. It says, well, elements are used in a lot of tarot imagery. So the homework that you get for that lesson is to go through one suit and pick out how the element associated with that suit is used and what that means to you. Friday says, I always learned fire equals swords and air equals wands, but with the same kind of associations. Only recently heard them swapped like this. It's freaking me out. Friday, I originally associated them with those elements as well. I think it was Dusty, actually, who let me know that they're most commonly associated with the associations I just listed. Hi, Doug. Thanks for joining us. Oh, I'm away from my desk. Otherwise, I would show you... for Storytime Sundays, Doug got us another TSR book that just arrived yesterday, I think? Maybe the day before? Anyway, I'm really excited about that one. Total non sequitur. Jess says, things are either on fire or not. Everything's upside down and right side up, but it's all awesome. Okay, so for the rest of the stream, I thought maybe you'd all like to do some of this homework with me. I pulled all of the cup cards because I looked, as I mentioned, I went through and I sorted all of these cards, and I realized, even though a lot of my work is, well, actually, let me back up. I realized that these suit cards, or these minor arcana cards, actually don't have that much elemental symbolism in them. The cups are the exception. But the symbolism in this deck really focuses on animals, botanicals, the moon, and other nature things that are specifically not the 4 elements. And that was really interesting to me that this deck resonated with me so much because, as I mentioned earlier in the stream, a lot of my practice calls on the elements. And so here I've found a deck that I love that speaks to my soul, and the elements are missing from it. But the exception, like I said, is the cup cards. So I figured that might be a fun group activity to go through all the cups together. So let's start with the Ace of Cups. Ooh, there we go. And I figured let's all talk about stuff together, and then I'll specifically go into the guidebook. And the guidebook, at the end of like the long explanation, I'm happy to read people the long explanations if you want to hear them. Let me know in chat if you want sort of like a tarot story time, and I'll read the little anecdotes for you. But at the end of the anecdotes, there are almost little bullet points, a little list of the symbols in each card and what those mean. So honestly, this is perfect for the intuitive tarot workbook that I'm doing. Perfect pair. Jess Boat's story time. No, I got it out of focus. There we go. So this is the Ace of Cups. And what immediately jumps out at me is that this cup overfloweth. There's a bounty of water here. There's life growing from this water, and these little wee turtles. And for a card that represents the very soul of what the cups cards mean, that would make sense to me. That would have a lot of the element that it is representing. And let's see what the artist says about it, and if that matches up with what we said. Let's see. Moji Wright says, Ace cards always feel so positive and hopeful to me. This one especially with the little turtles. Right? They look so adorable and playful. Plus these beautiful, I think they might be lilies. They look like lilies to me. Yes, so the symbol here is the cup/chalice, which is overflowing emotion, font of inspiration. And this is really about bounty, overflowing creativity or emotion, open expression. The little turtles stand for creativity, access to the subconscious, and the daylilies, which we observed, there were so many of them, are about bounty, abundance, and growth. So that overflowing of the basis of what the cup cards mean, creativity, emotion, and feelings, intuition, that is very much represented by the element of water here. Ooh, Doug is drinking some Friday afternoon tea, sipping on the key tea right now. A nice smooth black tea with a hint of other flavors. At least that's what my unrefined palate tastes. My wife gives it a thumbs up. Oh, I'm so glad you're enjoying your tea. Yes, Mojiris, I love drawing ace cards. They make me really happy. Two of Cups. This one a lot of folks are familiar with, as tarot is often drawn for relationship questions. But here you see the water, also plentiful. It is pouring from the chalices, and there are two chalices, and they're being poured into one stream that the ducks float in. So to me, I wish I could like pause without it feeling awkward and let chat speak before I do. But to me, that like combination, the water coming together really speaks to two people or two ducks in this card coming together. It speaks to unifying. And indeed, that is what the Two of Card speaks to. It's about unison, union, partnership, synchronicity, balance. The cups in particular and the flowing water represents union and coming together. Three of Cups. This is a favorite card of mine. I wonder if I'm actually like a Cups card person. I love the Cups cards so much. So here we see, it's almost like it's a school of fish. There's three fishes with some seaweed and these three cups. Everything in this card is submerged underwater. So there's tons of water here. Like, things I'm looking for are how much of the element is represented and kind of what it's doing. Is it lively? Is it flowing? Is it stagnant and still? And here there's lots of little movement lines around the fish and the cups floating in it. And like I said, there's plenty, plenty, plenty of this water. And I don't know. I mean, I know this card typically represents sort of like community. It's definitely a very happy card. The plentifulness of water kind of speaks to me. Pixel friend, you're going to bed. Oh, please definitely tuck yourself in. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing a lot of your awesome insights. Let's see. Yes, and this card is about friendship and companionship and celebration. The cups specifically are floating, so they're suspended in the water. I knew that they were submerged in the water. I didn't think of them as suspended, but they definitely are. And that is supposed to speak to lightheartedness and elevated creativity. So I can kind of having a little more than just memorizing that, but thinking, okay, yeah, the cups are suspended. That will help me remember that. This one's really interesting. The Four of Cups. So here, I mean, there's really two cups, but in this, like, very still water, you see the reflection of two more cups, making it a total of four. And then underneath there are these little clams. And so to me, that's this sort of like stillness, but it doesn't feel stagnant. The reflection is what's really jumping out at me. I wonder if this card is about reflection. Dame Hex says, I would love that the reflection is used here. So let's see what these cups mean for the Four of Cups. Cups, comma, reflected. Contemplating feelings and emotions. This card is about meditation, personal reflection, and introspection. Now I go back and I look at it and I see like the clams, and that's like in a phrase, like they're literally clammed up. So that this is a very inward looking card makes sense to me. And I'm glad that we picked up on reflection and that is what the card is about. Okay. This is interesting. So there's a lot of water here. It is not like it's not a super lively card. The water is not tumultuous. It's not really moving, but there are little ripples, and there's lots of these bowls or cups. There's there's a young fawn. So I wonder if this is a card that has sort of a youthful meaning to it. I'm not sure what I take from this water interpretation. Moji says, this card feels very calm and safe to me. Yeah, calm is how I would describe this water. Like it's rippling. Let's take a look. Oh, I skipped. That was the Six of Cups. I skipped the Five of Cups, which we already talked about in our interview. Interview spread. So we kind of already did that one. I'm going to put that back with spam. So the Six of Cups. Let's see. This is about purity, joy, nostalgia, and youthfulness. So that fawn was a very strong symbol for us. But the cups in themselves represent reflecting on the past and stillness. I guess because they're also like very well balanced on those rocks. But yeah, I agree. This is a very calm card for me. The flowers add a lot of joy to it because they're so like bright and happy. The fawn represents peace and easiness. Ah, Dusty, thanks for ordering us some food. Yeah. Okay. The 7. So this one's interesting. There's the suggestion that there's water here. So for those not looking at the card right now, there are a bunch of like little different types of buggies that are kind of flying in the air above this frog who's staring at them. There's a suggestion that there's water because the frog is on a lily pad. And then there's all sorts of cups behind the frog on different lily pads. And to me, like the water here, you can't actually see it though, so it's very still, potentially stagnant. The card is turning its back to the water and everything. And oh, my camera froze again. I don't know why it keeps doing that. Hold on, I'm going to do a magic trick, disappear, and come back. All y'all discuss those, what do you think this card means while it's still on the screen? Sprout Girl, thank you for following. Stepped on some stuff. Whoopsie. I'm back. So so I feel like that you can't see the water seems really significant to me. The frog is definitely making some sort of decision between all of these. They almost kind of look like they're glowing or they're in like a thought cloud. So maybe it's just thinking about some bugs. Let's see. This one, the cups represent being carried away by emotion. I guess, like, the cups are on lily pads, which kind of can get swept away in the water, but I don't know if that's perfectly clear to me. I felt like everything's been pretty spot on so far. There's bound to be a card that doesn't fully resonate with me. This is about daydreaming, fantasy, and many options on the table, unrealistic goals or desire. I don't feel like water is really represented that strongly in this card. Likewise with the 8 of Cups. I actually remember going through these before and I was like, I don't know. I don't really see water. Water is definitely suggested. There's all these rocks sticking out of the water. Cups on the rocks, and this snake that is shedding its skin, which I wonder, is the 8 of Cups about transformation? That would be my first go-to with a snake shedding its skin. Okay, 8 of Cups. Transition, moving on, letting go, a difficult journey. The water snake is shedding, is about emergence and leaving something behind. And the cups represent progression and moving forward. And this is another one where if we're just talking about the element of water, it doesn't really fully speak to me. I don't know what folks in chat think. I will say because this is a practice of looking at elements in particular and cards, I will say these 2 cards that haven't fully resonated with me don't fully utilize water as a symbol. Hey, Brittany, welcome back. Well, Brittany, welcome back. We are going through the cup suit, and we are going through each one and looking at how water, the element associated with cups, is utilized. Dame Hex says, why am I just now realizing I could be going through my deck along with you and comparing the cards? I very briefly had the Wildwood Tarot deck that you're using right now, Dame Hex. And I remember it being really strong on element imagery. So I actually feel like this practice with all of the suits might be really helpful for you. Okay. The next one is the Nine of Cups. There's a little bit of water here. I don't know if it's what really a symbol. I'll say there's an abundance of cups. There's 9 cups. There's water represented. It's relatively calm. There's some happy turtles. They look like they're basking in the sun. This seems like a happy card to me. I don't know if the water is necessarily speaking to that. Oh, Moji writes, oh no, same. This can be our homework for later. Yeah, this is another one where, I don't know, the water is like still and calm. The cups here are supposed to the meaning of the card in general speaks to satisfaction, optimism, contentedness, and happiness. They actually call out the pond, deep emotion, calm, and tranquility. Well, we did call that out. We did say that this was a very calm-looking pond. The cups represent radiance, glowing feeling, and fullness. I guess they are kind of glowing in the sun. There's just so much of them, so many of them. But that's good to know that the pond is supposed to evoke that calm feeling. Yes, Moss Coven homework. Those turtles look so hopeful. Happy turtle friends. Yeah, I agree. They're looking toward the future. Yeah, painted turtles sunbathing. They stand for pure happiness, joy, and peace. They really do look like they're living their best turtle lives. Okay. Next, we have the Ten of Cups. And here I think water imagery is used really well. This, like the Ace of Cups, has so much overflowing water, lots of movement. It feels joyful. It feels abundant. It's like the Ace of Cups times 10. With these 2 swans, I wonder if this is similar to our Two of Cups with the ducks, if they are a pair. It looks like there's like some wisteria in the foreground, but if we're talking about water, this feels like abundance of emotion in a very happy way. And looking here, this is about maturity, fulfilling relationships, harmony, and peace. So I had talked about how the aces represent kind of the pure basic meaning of a suit. And then the 10s represent the culmination of the suit. This is demonstrating that. And let's see. The cups in particular represent overflowing with joy and fulfillment. So I feel like I exactly said that, overflowing of emotion in a happy way, which is a weird way to say overflowing with joy. Quite literally the ace times 10. And now we're getting into the court cards. So just a reminder, the court cards, when they come up in a spread, often will represent a person in your life, or they might represent personality traits that you either are demonstrating or you might want to aspire to demonstrate, or call upon, I suppose is a better way to say that, to call upon in whatever you're going through at that particular time in your life. So the first is the Page of Cups. Ooh, and okay, I'll say that as I was going through this before, what stood out to me was that they don't necessarily really show water in every single one of these court cards, but what represents the water that is in the cup. And this will make sense once we go through them, or how the cup is holding the water speaks to me more about the meanings of these cards. Here's the Page of Cups. So this one does show a ton of water. You have a happy otter. Oh, Page of Cups is a happy friend. I want to hold their hand. They're under the water. The water is moving and lively. It feels like from their swimming and joy. The cup, what is it actually? Is it like a shell? It kind of looks like it's made of shell. So it's like a natural cup. I feel like the page is like a really happy, joyful person. Okay. Curiosity, daydreamer, youthfulness, good news in relationships, and health. Ooh, what was that? Something cool happened. Doug! Doug, thank you for gifting people subs. Hooray! So yes, that like playful energy of the otter that we were talking about, that they're a happy daydreamer. I love that. And the cup / basin in particular is flowing with emotion and positive energy. You can kind of see that there's like a lily kind of growing out of it, or maybe like a seaweed. Does it say? What is it? A water lily? And all sorts of wavy lines all over that, what I thought was a shell. So that makes sense. Oh, I'm so glad people got subs. Enjoy your Jarmathy emotes. New buddies, so happy. All right. Remember what I said about how water isn't represented in every card, but something is represented by water is maybe represented by what the cup is holding and how it's holding it. So that comes to this card, which is the Knight of Cups. And what was really intriguing is that instead of water, there's flame. And there are moths in this cup. And so I feel like, is the Knight of Cups like really enigmatic and passionate? Because we talked about what fire means. And if not usually associated with cups, it might still hold its same meaning. Oh my god, Friday, the Knight of Cups, more like Night. I am mad at you. So mad. Let's see. Tranquility, sensitive, intimacy, graceful, chivalry. Oh, okay. The candle speaks to warmth and attraction. But there's also lavender in here, which I hadn't looked at, which speaks to the calm. Rose quartz kind of speak to like a sensitivity. It's a softer passion. So I guess I should have thought about this as like fire interpreted through a cup's lens. Yeah, Chellcat, you're right. There's everything except for water in this picture. Earthy plants, air bugs, fire. Yeah, this deck really, I don't know if I would have been able to do this exercise with any other suit. Because there were some cards here that don't really speak to water, but there was water represented in most of these. But the other cards just really, the creator just didn't draw on element symbolism. This does kind of make me think of like, looking at the moths drawn to the flame, it evokes like a cozy, just like a cozy night by a campfire or something. Just like snuggles. That's what this feels like. I bet the Knight of Cups is a real good snuggler. Okay. The Queen of Cups. So again, no water represented. There are bleeding hearts, which are one of my favorite plants. If it matters, bleeding hearts grow in the shade. You don't see water, but it's implied that the cup is carrying something. It could be water, but it's being guarded. There is a toad, a frog, kind of standing on top of the cup. securing the cup. Folks like that the frog or toad is the queen. Let's see. I think I was totally off in my interpretation. But let's see what the artist meant. The Queen of Cups is empathetic, passionate, a good listener, a healer, and intuitive. I don't know much about frogs and toads. Do those who are really into frogs and toads feel like that resonates with them? I know that they are friends. Let's see. The bleeding heart speak to passionate, emotional release. The deep emotion, full of feeling and passion. It is a really humongous cup. It is a very deep cup. Will it focus? I didn't think about that. This is like the deep end of the pool when you think about cups. Dungeon Mom Design says this really feels something very transformative about the whole layout to me, using the frog symbolism. Hey, whatever is like calling to you. It would make a good wine cup. All right, and now we are on our last cup, the King of Cups. And all it's really, oh, well, there is some water in this one. I didn't notice that when I first go through. There's a little bit of water, and there's a humongous cup. It's a very open cup. And there's even some water that's spilled on the ground. Do you think the King of Cups is maybe a very, like, open person? All of the Cups people seem like, oh, hey, Grit and Greg. Thanks for joining. All of the Cups seem to be like very nice people, very kind people. So the fact that there is a really big cup means that it is a strong emotional foundation, resilience. So that's what his big cup means. And the card in general stands for balance, calm. Herons are really like very calm animals to me. I very rarely see them move. They just, if I have, they would just like slowly walk. Balance, calm, mature, compassionate, and diplomatic. Which I feel like to be compassionate and diplomatic, you have to be a very open person. Yeah, like what Brittany said. I feel something watchful and open about this. Very supportive. Moji Wright says, yeah, I feel that. Like the bird is watching over you. Okay. So that was our exercise with the cups. What? Grinning Greg says, I had a D&D character whose last name was Heron still. I see blue herons a lot here. So what did we think of this exercise? Are folks going to go do this with their tarot deck? And which suit do you think you're going to go through? Do you think this is a helpful exercise? What did you like about it? And were there things you didn't like about it? Yep, going to do this with mine. When I get the book, I want to try wands. It's nice to analyze the cards not in the context of a reading. Yeah, and it's nice to have an activity because I feel like if you were just going through all of the cards, it might be like so overwhelming that you're not really retaining anything or remembering things. But if you're going through specifically looking for one thing, elements, then it gives you something to focus on and something to remember. Yeah, I like how structured this was, as Moji writes. Bunkerman Dusty says, I haven't dug too deeply into the Fountain Tarot yet, so I'd love to explore that. Also, Clara is in front of the screen, so I can't see what I'm typing. I would love to do this in a Zoom call or something. Maybe that's something, I mean, if folks want to find find some time over the weekend or something to do a Moss Coven call. That might be something. I would be into just hanging out while folks go through their cards. I think it's a great way to introduce yourself to the deck. Yes, I'm glad that this activity is resonating with folks so much. The last thing I want to call out is if you really like intuitive tarot, it comes with handouts. There are links as you go through to where you can download the handouts that go with the book. And I think one of you mentioned that you use your tarot journal. You have a page for each card and you record what those cards, or you have a page for each card. So eventually you'll have like a recorded entry for what that card means to you, which I love. That is kind of what these handouts are. So they have a tarot card meanings reference guide, which is these worksheets that just have keywords for what the cards mean. They have, this one is the one that is pre-filled out by Biddy Tarot. But they also have a blank version, which I've printed out because I like handwriting things, but I also believe it is form fillable if you prefer typing things in digitally, so that you can later, as you can examine each suit, write in keywords or key symbols that are jumping out to you in your cards and put in the worksheet. So if you are doing the intuitive tarot book with me, that's another perk that you get out of that. Although, of course, you can just use a tarot journal, I'm totally blanking on who said that. Was it Moji Writes? Was that you? When someone had that great suggestion of how they use their tarot journal. I see the Rose Buddies are talking about a group exploration project. That would just be really fun. I froze again. I don't know why this keeps happening. Boo. Coming over here to unfreeze me. It's so bizarre that it's doing this. I will have to figure this out separately. At least I froze cute this time. And maybe I can figure out a hotkey to activate and deactivate something so that I don't have to always get up to do it. Yeah, at least you can hear me. It's a very flattering still frame. Not like the first one where I was like, bleh. So we have a couple minutes until I believe Friday Afternoon Tea is going to be doing their tarot and tea. If they're still lurking in chat, let me know. But with my final minutes, I wanted to let you know that after the last Tarot Tuesday stream, which was the first one, we talked about starting a Discord. I tweeted about that Discord. It has happened, but I know some of the folks who were in that chat last time said they aren't always on Twitter. So if you were one of those people, or if you participated in this stream, feel free to send me a direct message here on Twitch. If you would like an invite to that Discord, I'm not posting the invite link publicly just because I am keeping the Discord pretty small. I want it to feel like a really safe community, and really like curated, welcoming and friendly. I am being a little careful about who I'm adding, since we're talking about things that are like spiritual to people, really personal. So we're keeping the group pretty personal. And I see in chat that Friday has just started. So if you enjoyed this Tarot Tuesday stream, it's every Tuesday at 5 p.m. right here, 5 p.m. Pacific time right here. Tomorrow at 5 p.m. Pacific time, I will be doing a Druid craft stream. So I'll be arranging flowers and we'll talk about TRPG topics or D&D topics. Or, goodness, more tarot if you want. We'll talk about anything as I make some flowies. Stick around in the end screen. I'm going to go raid Friday, who is doing a tea and tarot stream and teaching us about tea divination. How cool. I can't wait to watch that stream as well. So thank you, Rose Buddies, for tuning in, and I will see you tomorrow, hopefully. Bye, everyone.